Following traffic laws is the first step to staying safe on the road. They're put in place for the protection of people inside and outside of cars. Stay in your lane. Use your turn signal. Stop at a red light. Yield to oncoming traffic when turning left. Follow the speed limit. Well, that last one's just an annoying suggestion, right? Ask the police officer who pulls you over for speeding if he thinks it's just a suggestion. All of these laws are in place so that everyone who earns the privilege of driving knows exactly what to do and what not to do while out on the road to stay safe. That being the case, why are there still traffic accidents? Why are there still near misses? What about all the road rage? Why do we still need to have a police force monitoring our driving habits if we have all of these great laws to tell us what to do? Maybe it's because people aren't great at following the rules. Maybe it's because people get distracted. Maybe it's because people are selfish. Maybe it's because people just don't care. Well, I'm an optimist by nature, so I'd say most people out there driving care about being safe and try to follow the traffic laws because they understand the terrible consequences of not following them. The cost of not following the rules when driving is very high. Cars are not cheap. In fact, it's really a matter of life and death in most cases. Most people understand that the laws are there for the protection of all involved, and particularly for those they care about the most. But what about this? What happens when a traffic law is broken by accident? It happens all the time. That's why they call them traffic accidents. People usually don't decide to smash their cars together on purpose. It's because someone makes a mistake. Someone loses control on a wet surface. Someone forgets to look twice before pulling out. Someone misjudges the speed of another vehicle. Someone is texting or changing the channel on the radio. Someone gets in the car drunk. These types of things aren't intentional. Some of them certainly carry culpability, but they are all the result of either poor choices or poor circumstances, and they lead to unfortunate consequences, despite every attempt on a civic municipality's part to regulate traffic flow. Really, when was the last time you actually drove 55 on the highway? I'm just kidding, sort of. Now, what if there was a traffic law that actually endangered drivers? What if there was a traffic rule that was impossible to follow? What if there was a situation on a roadway that was simply ambiguous or very difficult to understand, or even kept changing so that it was impossible to follow? Granted, these are far-fetched examples, but I would assert that they do happen. Have you ever driven somewhere where the traffic laws were different than you were used to? I've been in situations where the local laws of right-of-way were not implicitly obvious. In our community, in fact, there's a great example of this, Nicholasville Road. If you aren't familiar with it, Nicholasville Road is one of the main traffic arteries into downtown Lexington from the south side of town. It is a multi-lane thoroughfare. In an effort to help with rush hour traffic management, planners have set up lights over each lane to indicate right-of-way. In the morning, there are several lanes for drivers going into town. And in the evening, during rush hour, there are several lanes going out of town. Plus, there's a designated turn lane. Right-of-way on each lane is indicated by a green arrow, a yellow arrow, or a red X. Having grown up in Lexington, I know the rules on Nicholasville Road like the back of my hand. But I have had several close calls on this road with people who either didn't understand what was going on, or who just decided not to follow them, or who simply found themselves in the wrong lane at the moment when all the arrows and X's changed. Actually, I've probably been one of those people in the wrong lane more than once. Anyway, where am I going with this? In the book of John, chapter 7, Jesus is talking to some Jews about the authority of his Father's teachings and about the laws of Moses. In particular, Jesus is addressing accusations people are making about the fact that he healed a man on the Sabbath. Now, healing someone on the Sabbath was strictly against the rules if you were a faithful, God-fearing Jew. It was, in fact, against the law. Jesus didn't just bend this law, he flat out broke it. And he spoke about another one of the rules that Jews took very seriously. From the time of Moses, it was a God-mandated, non-negotiable regulation that all Jewish males were to be circumcised. Circumcision was the mark of a true Jew and a sign of God's covenant with his people. They took it very seriously. Listen to how Jesus addresses the people concerning these laws. This is John chapter 7, verses 21 through 24. Jesus answered, "My teaching is not my own. It comes from the one who sent me. Anyone who chooses to do the will of God will find out whether my teaching comes from God or whether I speak on my own. Whoever speaks on their own does so to gain personal glory, but he who seeks the power of the one who sent him is a man of truth. There is nothing false about him. Has not Moses given you the law? Yet not one of you keeps the law. Why are you trying to kill me?" "You are demon-possessed," the crowd answered. "Who is trying to kill you?" And Jesus said to them, "I did one miracle, and you are all amazed. Yet, because Moses gave you circumcision, though actually it did not come from Moses, but from the patriarchs, you circumcise a boy on the Sabbath. Now, if a boy can be circumcised on the Sabbath so that the law of Moses may not be broken, why are you angry with me for healing a man's whole body on the Sabbath? Stop judging by mere appearances, but instead judge correctly." Jesus is referring to the more than 600 laws which are lined out in the Hebrew Bible, and he is asserting that they are incapable of following these laws. Yet, they are accusing him of breaking one of them, one that they themselves have apparently sidestepped in order to keep the rules about circumcision. Jesus is pointing out that in an attempt to follow the laws, their judgment of the intent of the law has been clouded. In fact, that it's hypocritical. The intent of the laws surrounding Sabbath were to set aside a day to devote oneself to God without distraction. God rested after creating the world, and he commanded his people also to do so and to keep it holy. Then along comes Jesus, clearly breaking the rules and healing a man on this day. It makes it seem like Jesus isn't playing by the rules. Wait, if Jesus is the Son of God, the very incarnate person of God, then doesn't this seem like an awfully giant paradox? He's changing the rules, his own rules. That's right. Jesus, creator in the flesh, is the rule maker. He is the authority. He is the giver of laws and the curator of justice. And Jesus, in this case, was demonstrating that when it comes to following the rules, love always determines the right of way. Let's imagine that I was driving in the correct lane on Nicholasville Road, and I spotted a driver coming straight toward me in the same lane. Am I going to be insistent upon staying in my lane no matter what because I always follow the traffic laws? I do clearly have the right of way, as indicated by the green shiny arrow over my lane. The police would back me up on this. No, I'm not going to stay in my lane. I'm going to swerve and get out of the way. Why? Because out of a desire to preserve the health and safety of myself and possibly my passengers and the other driver who's coming my way, it's the right thing to do. That is a way of loving that goes beyond laws and regulations. God knew that our ability to follow laws was flawed. God knew that our own willfulness to drive 65 in a 55 zone was something that ultimately we wouldn't be able to give up. He knew that our need for checking a text message rather than following him was a temptation we wouldn't be able to avoid. That's why he sent Jesus. Jesus takes all of those laws and summarizes them into just one. As I have loved you, love one another. He paid the fines for all the times we've broken those laws by freely giving his life on the cross. He made it right by proving that he is who he said he was, a resurrected Savior. And he calls us to stop judging by mere appearances, but instead to judge correctly, to judge according to the law of love. Peace be with you.